This is the best chapter in Wano. No, scratch that. This is the best chapter in One Piece. And you know, maybe that opinion will change, but I think I enjoyed this chapter more than any other chapter I've ever read, and that's saying a lot. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Huge spoilers ahead that changed the series forever. You have been warned. So, last chapter broke the internet. I think it's safe to say that this chapter will start causing computers and phones everywhere to just spontaneously combust from the sheer excitement of what's happening on the page. Luffy has finally awakened his devil fruit, the Hito Hitonomi model Nika. He's revealed Gear 5th and is confirmed to be Joyboy all in one chapter. This new power that Luffy has obtained is confirmed to be the power of a god. He can practically do anything within his own imagination, giving him the most amount of physical freedom any one person can have, which makes so much sense in retrospect. All of us were out here speculating different things, with most of us saying that the god level power would just be too much for this story, and it turns out that the god power was just all of the different theories we had combined. Think about this for a second. The bounce house or bounce world theory, where a lot of people speculated, including myself, that Luffy's awakening would entail him having the ability to turn the ground into rubber. Now that's actually happening. The mythical zone idea that Evil and many others speculated is now confirmed. It may not be Sun Wukong or Hanuman directly, but it's definitely a mythical zone, and I still don't think it's out of the question to say that Luffy was modeled and inspired by the characteristics of Sun Wukong or Hanuman. The Nika theorists like Captain Golden Boy were partially right as well. They were just missing the mythical zone aspect that was being pushed by the Sun Wukong and Hanuman theorists. And resin theorists, please do not be let down just yet. Luffy now has the ability to do almost anything within his imagination, which means he could still possibly create weapons from his rubber, coat himself in rubber, create rubber, detach or throw rubber, and so much more. Just because the name of the element is still rubber, not resin, doesn't limit the possibility of the powers he would have gained if it was revealed to be a resin fruit. This is why I think this awakening is still perfect. It was the perfect route to take by Oda. Luffy is now strong enough to defeat Kaido, which is something Oda needed Luffy to do. He did turn out to have the power of a god, which some were very wary about, but that god is intrinsically linked to his rubber ability, his aspect of bringing liberation, and grants him the most freedom possible, with his creativity and imagining being the only limitation to that power, which is perfectly in line with Luffy's character. Not only that, but like I stated multiple times, Luffy's awakening was directly correlated to his Gear 5th ability. Both of them go hand in hand with each other, which was something I was so happy to see realized this chapter. All of us were shouting the answers back and forth at each other, but we all had different pieces. This is also how I think the One Piece theories will go as well. I don't think any of us have or will ever guess exactly what Laugh Tale and the One Piece really is. However, if we put our brains together and start looking at different combinations of theories that are already out there, maybe we can find a closer answer. Okay, let's talk about this fight. I felt like I was watching an episode of Looney Tunes while reading through the rematch of Luffy, or rather Joyboy, and Kaido. First, Luffy reaches down from the roof of Onigashima with a huge hand and grabs Kaido like a chew toy. When he pulls Kaido up, he flexes like a wrestler and swings Kaido around in circles, while Kaido's eyes seem to pop out of his body, literally like something you would see straight out of a kid's cartoon. I think the Vicky the Viking references are really popping off here. For those who don't know what I mean by that, subscribe and ring the bell because I got a video coming up explaining the inspiration behind One Piece. Anyway, Kaido looks absolutely ridiculous, and you really can't help but chuckle at the sheer insanity of such a serious moment and monumental fight. Like, I'm currently laughing as I write the script, or recording I guess at this point, which is so crazy, like it gives me goosebumps as well. So next, Luffy starts slamming Kaido against the ground like Goku did to Frieza on Namek. We get a still shot of Kaido here with this mustache pointing straight up like freaking Yosemite Sam, and then he spins around dizzy with stars circling around his head. Once he regains his senses, Kaido looks happy that Luffy is still alive. Then he shoots his Boro Breath directly at Luffy, and here's where it gets good. Luffy's eyes pop straight out of his skull like that scene in Jim Carrey's The Mask, which now that I think about it, has a very similar power to Luffy's Gear 5th. Anyway, Luffy then grabs the ground, turns it into rubber, and pulls it up to block Kaido's attack. He then bounces it back at Kaido in a panel very resembling of what Raizo did, and uses the ground like a spring. Kaido goes flying, and Luffy just laughs as we finally get a full page view of his new form. The text reads Gear 5th. Kaido then actually apologizes to Luffy for the interruption earlier and states with shadows down his face that he didn't want to win that way. Luffy quickly forgives him and says, let's finish this. Holy Jesus, Oda, that was a fight, and it's just getting started. I am so happy that there is no break next week because I don't think I would survive. Before we get into some of the other stuff, I want to quickly speculate what we could see Luffy do going forward. Seeing as now he has the power to pretty much do anything within his own imagination, I'm going to use my imagination to speculate. One thing I think Luffy is definitely going to do is copy one of Kaido's moves, similar to how Kaido copied Luffy's Snake Man move. He's gonna do something like Thunder Bagua, and Luffy is going to conjure a Kanonbo like Kaido's and say something funny like Rubber Bagua with a serious but silly face. Luffy making weapons like hammers or even rubber guns that shoot rubber bullets like a real Gomu Gomu no pistol is something that I think we can definitely see happening. I could also see Luffy actually transforming himself into a monkey or other animal forms, which could be what Gear 4th was hinting to. Like, imagine Luffy transforming into a snake for quicker mobility and using the same techniques from Gear 4th to attack Kaido but in a form of a snake. Or maybe he transforms into a gorilla or a tiger and we finally end up getting Tiger Man just without the epithet of Tiger Man. Lastly, something I think we can all expect to see now is Giant Luffy. I can think of a certain joyous girl who is probably thinking the same exact thing. I mean, come on, this was speculated more than the Bounce World theory, and now Luffy actually has the ability to achieve full gigantification. I just want to state how excited I am to see Luffy do more things like he used to back in early One Piece, where he would make that face with a grin and say, that gives me an idea, and then he would do something like make a net out of his hands, or stretch his mouth wide enough to fit Arlong's teeth in it, or become Water Luffy. I'm not saying we didn't get moments like this post-time skip, but after Luffy revealed Gear 4th, I think a lot of Luffy's fights became more hockey-centric rather than Luffy coming up with fun and creative new moves. His fight with Cracker being an exception. So something else that most might be skimming over, but definitely needs some attention, is Luffy's eyes. Over the break week, people did speculate that Luffy's eyes would change, and they were right. I have a couple thoughts regarding this, one of them being the Eye of Enlightenment theory mentioned in my Voice of All Things video. However, another idea I want to bring up is the power of a god. So the other people in this verse to have that eye is Emu, Mihawk, and Cavendish, and maybe Caribou? Caribou is important somehow, we just don't know why yet. Maybe those with this eye each carry the power of a god or specific entity within them. That could explain Hakuba and Cavendish, and although we don't know Emu's power, it could explain why he or she has such a huge grasp over everything. For Hawkeye, it could be the sword god. Maybe Ryuma also achieved this eye when he reached that level. Maybe Zoro will get the eye as well. That's all definitely a bit more tinfoil than usual, and I still lean more towards the Eye of Enlightenment, but it's definitely an intriguing thought that has a bit more credence than it did previously, based on what the Gorosei said in this chapter. I want to mention a couple more things, one being Luffy's connection to Nika and Joyboy, but we gotta briefly talk about Hiyori and Orochi. I think the moment in this scene where Hiyori drops her mask gave us one of the most emotional panels in Wano, with an absolutely tragic shot of Hiyori in tears as she finally is able to speak her mind after 20 years of patient torment. The pain in her face and eyes as Orochi spews his nonsense is heartbreaking, but so cathartic at the same time. The twist in the confrontation kind of confused me. Kanjuro reappears, only a fragment of the fire monster that was destroyed, and burns Orochi alive as Hiyori watches. Did Kanjuro have a change of heart? Does Hiyori have something to do with this? Is this a part of the preparations that Raizo mentioned? Maybe Kanjuro is merging with Orochi. Oh, okay, that last one is a bit crazy. But I really think that Momo or Hiyori should be the ones to finish Orochi off, not Kanjuro of all people. This is one of those moments that seems weird upon first glance, but I feel like will make more sense after the coming chapters. So something that I, as well as many others, speculated was that the previous Joyboy was the sun god Nika. That was wrong. Or was it? Joyboy, Nika, and Luffy being the same person was true to a degree. Here's how I see it now. Luffy is Joyboy with the power of sun god Nika, making him a sun god. The previous Joyboy, whatever his name was, also had this power, making him the sun god as well. So Luffy and the previous Joyboy are not the same person, but carry the same will, and both earn the title of Joyboy through the awakening of the power of the sun god, making them intrinsically connected but still two different people. Thus, the inherited will aspect still remains intact, Luffy is not possessed nor reincarnated, and the core themes of One Piece plus Luffy's hard work throughout the years are not diminished because this was a point Luffy needed to get to on his own, something that could have never have happened if Luffy took the wrong steps along his journey, which is something Roger, along with all of the other people with the same will throughout the centuries, did wrong. I just want to say, Oda, you did it. You magnificent man. I am not gonna lie, and I think a lot of people will feel me when I say this. We all had a little bit of worry in the back of our heads about how Luffy's power / role in the story was going to be executed. But from the bottom of my heart, I think that Oda nailed it perfectly. I can't think of any way that this could have been done better. And if my analysis didn't prove that, I don't know what will. The biggest question from this chapter still remains, why did Luffy's eyes change? I want you to either click this video on the right to hear my theory on the Eye of Enlightenment, or click this video on the left if you want to watch my first video on the channel regarding the Bounce World theory.